Hey everyone!
Jesus.
Johnny and Daniel here, and we are back with another film review for you. And it is Dunkirk, written and directed by Christopher Nolan, of course, who is, he goes without saying that he's one of the best directors working today. Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, whatnot. And this is
Interstellar.
I fucking love that movie. Dunkirk is the true story of a World War II evacuation of the British troops from Dunkirk, which are these beaches in France. And basically these civilian boats are required to help get these guys off this beach because they're getting the shit bombed out of them, and just a lot of bad stuff is going down. And this movie stars some bigger name actors, Mark Rylance, Tom Hardy, but really it's no names. And that's kind of like an intentional thing that Christopher Nolan did.
Yeah, there's a lot of younger guys in here. Tom Hardy, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But it seems like the majority of the cast is there's either no-name guys or guys that you've seen but not really sure what their name are. Name is. Cillian Murphy's also in this movie.
Yeah, I love him. He was really underrated in the Dark Knight trilogy. And he has a small part in Inception too.
Yeah, he's a Christopher Nolan guy. They must get along fucking really well. Harry Styles actually from One Direction's in this as well.
Also, yeah.
So getting into performances, I guess Harry Styles because we're talking about. This is, I don't know if this is like his legitimate acting debut, but it's like definitely his biggest film and role, I would imagine. They did a good job of protecting him, if you will. Like he was in a lot of the movie and he's an important character, but he didn't have a lot of lines, which is smart for a guy that's probably not as versed in acting as a lot of the people in the film.
To be fair, did anyone in this movie have a lot of lines?
No, I mean there's very little. I wonder how long the script is.
It's very minimalist, and I wouldn't be surprised. The script's public now. I think you can find it or buy it, but I think the script could be pretty long with a lot of like description and stuff like that. But definitely, it's very sparse in dialogue. It's very minimalist in that like respect, and I think it's kind of cool because, like you said, while there are a few big name actors in this, the soldiers that are on the beach and the main guy that plays. I think his name's Tommy in the film, Finn Whitehead. He's a brand new actor. And he's, I guess, the lead on the beach, if you will. And he did really well, I thought. He kind of anchors that whole situation. And then, like you said, Harry Styles is with him as well. And yeah, they did really well with what they were given. There's a lot of face acting going on in this movie, like reacting to stuff that's happening around them.
Yeah.
Whether they're terrified or like, surprised, stuff like that. And not just the guys on the beach, but Tom Hardy in the airplane, Mark Rylance, and the younger actors that were with him. And really, it's kind of like one of the main points in the movie. It's like it has this structure where there's 3 different parts, but it's not 3 acts. Like this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens at the end. It's weaved together so cleverly, and the screenplay is definitely going to be up for an Oscar. I can tell you that right now.
Before we jump into that part, because we're going to differ on that a lot, we already talked about the acting. Everybody did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Especially Tom Hardy. Like you don't even see his face until like the last 2 minutes of the movie, maybe, and it's like, oh.
And not just his performance. To me, he is like my favorite character in the movie because you'll see what he does, and he just, like you said, Tom Hardy sells it completely. But he has a really cool arc, and like what he does is interesting.
But also, besides the acting, it's filmed beautifully.
Oh my god.
Great cinematography. And the soundtrack or score just hammers you into the ground.
Hans Zimmer, he really did a good job. It almost isn't music. It's like...
noises.
It's like if tension and like stress was a sound effect.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't see myself, like the other Zimmer scores are gorgeous. You listen to them, outside, with your earbuds and stuff. I wouldn't listen to this outside of the realm of the movie because it's just the way it's used. But it is great. It like really helps the film.
Now getting into the point of the movie where me and Johnny are probably going to differ. We haven't talked about it yet because we tried to save it for you guys.
Yeah.
But the way it was put together, and I don't want to say the timing because it wasn't timing. It was just the editing and how they did the storyline. I don't want to give anything away, obviously, and this isn't.
Don't give anything away.
This isn't necessarily giving it away, but the storyline isn't like linear, if you want to say.
That's a hallmark of Christopher Nolan at this point. And if you've seen Interstellar or Memento or even The Prestige or a bunch of his other films, the narrative is never simple. Like I think the simplest they've gotten were in the Batman movies probably. But yeah, if you don't like that, especially here, it's so experimental, you might be put off by how the story is told.
This was, and I hate saying this, the worst Christopher Nolan movie I have ever seen.
Excuse me?
I hate saying that. I love the soundtrack. I didn't dislike any of the acting.
What?
I didn't dislike how it looked at all. It was all great.
It was gorgeous.
But just the way they easily could have told a much better story, to me personally, if it was just a linear A to B story, and they could have edited it that way if they wanted to. It's just the way they cut it together and how it plays out. I get what they were going for, but at the same time, they could have done the 3-part, like Johnny mentioned. It was almost like land, sea, and air, if you will, say it like that. They could have told the story they told linearly through those 3 aspects that they were covering, and it would have been so much better to me. Right?
I disagree.
Okay.
Because I do see where you're coming from, and like you said, it would be easier to follow, and it might make even more sense that way. But to me, this is what differentiates it from being a standard war film, just like every other war film you've seen. Have you ever seen a war film told like this?
No, and that's another thing. It's not a Blood and Guts. It's not Saving Private Ryan.
It's PG-13.
It's not Band of Brothers. Like, it's not anything like that. It's. I don't even know if you see. Well, you see blood in the movie a little bit,
But a little bit, yeah.
But it's extremely minimal, and you wouldn't even notice it honestly unless you were looking for it. Like, you don't. It's not that type of war movie at all.
Yeah. And you don't even really see the Germans, like
No,
the people. I mean, you see their airplanes and stuff.
This is not front lines like war at all.
Yeah, and that's because Dunkirk, what the film follows, wasn't a battle. Obviously, there was a battle at Dunkirk before the evacuation, but this is not about fighting. This is about survival.
Yeah.
It's really, Christopher Nolan said it himself, it's not a war movie. He considers it like a survival thriller almost. And that's kind of the perfect way to describe it. To me, I guess this is the second time I've actually seen it. I saw it last night as well, and I enjoyed it a lot more this time around, the second time. Last night I actually wasn't sure how I felt about it very much at all. I was very, like you, I was very like unsure, kind of mixed, especially with regards to the story. But here, I guess because I knew what it was going into it this time around, it was easier for me to follow and understand. So I think it could benefit from rewatches.
I just think that they could have told the same story a different way, and it would have been much more effective and enjoyable for me. You get the first score.
9.25.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man.
The only gripes for me personally, I love the movie for the most part, but I think because the narrative was told in such a minimalist way, you don't really get to attach yourself like emotionally to the characters. So it's not as affecting as it could have been. With something like Saving Private Ryan or Black Hawk Down, you really get attached to the guys and you like feel bad for them with all the stuff they go through. Here, the characters are almost nameless and like faceless. They're just all part of the same force.
To your point, I do like the fact that they just jumped in and, oh shit, this is the situation these guys are in, and then this is how it goes. Because that's realistic. Whereas in a lot of movies, oh, well, this is what happened to this guy, and this is how he's going to get over it, and da-da-da.
Yeah.
Like, that's a movie version of real horrible situations.
Yeah.
Where in this is, how this movie plays out, these guys are already done on the front lines, and they're already fucking exhausted, and they're already miserable.
It feels so real.
Yeah.
It's really like hard to describe, but I mean there are guys that are on screen and then they bite the dust, like they die, and then some survive, some have this shit happen to them. It definitely feels like not like your typical Hollywood style war film, basically.
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Go check it out, especially if you're a Christopher Nolan fan, if you're a war movie, because it's a different take on a war movie.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of beautiful cinematography and all that kind of stuff, go check it out. It's really good acting without saying a lot of words. I think that shows a talent in an actor. Yeah. And also it's Christopher Nolan, so obviously the film itself is really, really good. Go check it out. It's in theaters this weekend. Also, come back for Comic-Con in the next 2 days. We have tons of videos obviously coming out tomorrow and Sunday, and it's going to be a good ride.
This is like Christmas. This is like the best day of the year. So
it does feel like we're waking up for Christmas tomorrow.
Yeah. So batten down the hatches because there's a storm coming.
Thank you guys for watching. Please comment and like our videos and subscribe. Thank you.